People think that YouTube is all about subscribers. YouTube is all about how much you can keep people on your content. When I sat down to do his show, the first thing he said was, you were the most requested guest. I'm like, no way. He didn't have to do what he did for me. Man, it completely gave me a career. My partner, Zach, when he contacted me, I'm like, man, I'm not a big enough name. He's like, show what was in your wrestling bag. And I'm like, why the hell would people want to know that? But they do. Best heel in the business is MJF. That kid will have a run in WWE one day that I think will change wrestling. Within 2 years from having that bulletin board, I was then having him come out and help me beat the Undertaker for the hardcore title.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interview.
Guys, from 2001 to 2005, my guest got to live his dream being in WWE, but of course, as he's laughing, you've heard him tell you that story many times and his wildly successful and really groundbreaking YouTube videos. I can't wait to dive into his career. Please welcome Maven.
Hey, guys, from 2001 through 2005. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore.
I had to bring it back.
I loved it. It popped me. It made me laugh.
No, yeah. and I'm so happy to have you here. Like, before we even get into
my pleasure.
I got to shout out Cafe de Rene, who helped put us in connection, and also I don't think we've ever crossed paths on there, but I'm co-host alternate with James and help Renee a lot with the editing. But before you even started your channel, I know you were making some appearances on Cafe.
Love it. Love Renee. Love what Renee does. Love what he does on a weekly basis. Wrestling fans will be better fans if they tune into Renee. He gets amazing guests on. And what I just love about Renee is, he is not afraid to go wherever the conversation needs to go.
Yeah.
And it's funny too. I always laugh at him. I'm like, Renee, you're this close to the screen.
Yes.
He literally does the whole show like this.
It's 3D Cafe de Rene, I know.
And with his French accent, he's just like, oh no, oh my God. I love Renee. Renee came into the business and like I thought I had it hard. He came in as a 19-year-old kid who had a 30-year-old man's body,
right?
Had a 10-year vet mind because he knew the business. He had been around it he had been wrestling since he was 14.
Yeah.
He knew the business. But poor Renee came in with so much heat, and it actually helped me. He took all the heat I had from Tough Enough off my shoulders, like immediately. And like but it didn't stop him from doing what he was put on this earth to do. Yeah.
And that's wrestle. No, absolutely. I mean, it is in Renee's blood. That's interesting you say that, though. I had that question later, but did you have a lot of heat coming in off of
Tough?
Yeah.
But it's all understood. Like, I get it. I took a route to the business that nobody at that point had taken. Right. No one had heard. No one, at this now we're in 2024. Reality shows, they're just a part of our daily life. Everybody's on a reality show now, and there's so many to choose from. In 2001, it wasn't like that. It was groundbreaking. And trust me, I know, because I remember the paychecks and how much money we didn't make. One of my buddies now he's Tim from 90 Day Fiance.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And he literally, tells me, how much, he can ask for doing a show. And I would have loved to have made that kind of money, but it just wasn't the way it was then. But coming into the business through that, I had a lot of heat. I understood. I knew what I was signing up for, and I knew what was coming my way.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I can take it. Yeah, I'll deal with it. And if it gets too bad, then I'll deal with it at that point.
Right. And it gives you such a unique journey to tell too, I think. Like, such a cool stories that you're telling now and taking us down. And
Yeah.
one person during that time who was well-known locker room leader, you're off the heels of an awesome collaboration with the Undertaker. You went on his 6 Feet Under, and then he went on yours. You did a cool Hell in a Cell video I think people should definitely go check out. But how did that collaboration even come about?
Ironically enough, we did our video probably we filmed the video during WrestleMania weekend.
Okay,
Like my YouTube partner Zach flew in to Philly just because we knew all the guys, the guys we were gonna, have bring on our show were gonna be in this one location. So we used that as kind of a base camp.
got
But
it.
while we were there, we did a video that it was something titled like my explaining my feud with the Undertaker. And we did it for one reason. And we knew going into it, we were like, at the end, people don't realize on a YouTube video, at the very end, that's probably your most expensive real estate on a YouTube video,
Okay.
where you're throwing to another video in your arsenal. Because that's, if 200,000 people watch your video and you throw them and if you throw 20,000 of those 200,000 to a video that they don't know you have, then that's just more money for you in the long run. That's more views.
Yeah.
People think that YouTube is all about subscribers. Subscribers is a vanity play. It means nothing in the long term. YouTube is all about how much you can keep people on your content. But we knew, we were like, let's at the end of this video, let's throw to Undertaker's channel.
Yeah.
So in essence, we're taking that valuable real estate at the end of and we're throwing to someone else. And we did that on purpose. We said, hopefully this will get Taker's attention. And who knows, maybe one day we'll get to work with Taker. Not thinking it would actually happen. It was basically just a hope and a prayer.
Wow.
And come to find out, not only did that video help, but he had already been watching. And I still can't believe I'm saying this. He told me that our channel was one of his, driving forces to getting started. It was one of the things he looked up to, which my pea brain can't fathom the Undertaker, looking up to anything I do, but it was an honor. But right about 2 months ago, I get hit up by Chris Van Vliet, who said the Undertaker's guy Matt Lyda, he'd like your information. Can I give it to him? And I'm like, and I think I texted him back something like, now we're all good with guests. And then I was like, yeah, of course you can give it to him. And Matt and I had a great that day. Matt and I talked for probably the better part of an hour, and just laid out a plan. And 2 weeks after that, I was in Texas and spending 3 days with him, and it was just a whirlwind experience. Like, think about this: the way we did it was, I flew in and we had dinner that night. Then the next day was going to be our day to work. I met Taker at his studio at 10. We filmed the channel for 6 Feet Under from 10 to 12. And then he was bringing Godfather in to do Godfather. And then after that, he was going to meet me at his house at 4.
Okay.
So we get there at 4, and we filmed our, the Hell in the Cell breakdown video till 6. And I'm thinking Taker's going to be like, well, good catching up with you. I'll see you down the road.
Yeah.
And I'll be out there at 6:05. We didn't leave his house until 11:30.
Wow.
He's driving me around on his damn,
I saw that golf cart or something.
Yeah. He's like, you want to see my 15 acres? I'm like, yup.
Damn.
I sure do. And we were on that thing for an hour. Then his kid is like, his son's the cutest little, it's both of his kids.
Aww.
His daughter is, all right, so his daughter's she plays football. And they were like, oh yeah, she's the quarterback. And I thought she was going to throw like a girl. Oh no, she's like good. she was like hitting me with 30-yard path patterns.
You got to
She
back
was
up a
throwing
little bit. Yeah.
he was throwing a tighter spiral than I was. I was like, my God, it kind of caught me off guard. And then his son's like, Maven, you want to see my room? And I'm like, I don't know if your dad really wants me in his house. And he's like, yeah, go and show it to him. Next thing I know, his daughter's asking me, you want to see my dad's steam shower? And I'm like, I'm 100% sure your dad doesn't want me in his bedroom and in his bathroom. He's like, yeah, you can see it. And then so think about this. So I not only had dinner with Taker, didn't think that was going to happen. Not only was on Taker's channel, 6 Feet Under, check it out, subscribe. Didn't think that was going to happen. Had him on my channel, check that video out. But I got Undertaker explaining to me how he laid out his steam shower. It was a whirlwind. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like,
Insane
how did this
story.
happen?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
interesting to hear your take on it too, because like as fans, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but you see two wrestlers who had something going on, 20 years ago hanging out. You're like, oh, they probably kept up over the years or whatnot. But it's cool to
No.
hear you say that it was just as shocking to you as it was to a lot of people, and just as cool too. A lot of people requested that collaboration, I know, on both channels. So to make that
Yeah.
happen and give that to them. What would Maven of 2001 say if you told him 20 plus years later, Undertaker is going to be basically giving you your flowers for succeeding so much on this venture?
No chance. No chance. There's no way. Why?
Right.
What can I bring? What can I offer him? Like
Yeah.
what? And the fact that he asked me to do the fact that all this came, because they came to us and we didn't go to them. I still can't like
Right.
believe that. And I like when I sat down to do his show, the first thing he said was, you were the most requested guest. And I'm like, no way.
No.
No, there's no chance. Like, why? And but I hadn't seen him in probably 15 years, and it's literally like we just picked up where we left off.
That's so awesome.
It's
And
crazy. Yeah.
the video that people should definitely go check out, that Hell in a Cell video. I watched it yesterday when it dropped. Great
Did you
video.
like it?
I loved it. I really loved the watch along process. It reminded me
Yeah.
of the true crime one that you did with Devon.
Ah, yeah.
I thought that was genius too, because there is a lot of stuff you can go into with true crime with wrestling, like merge that genre. But yeah, the Hell in a Cell video was great. What was it like, first of all, sitting there alongside Undertaker watching one of his matches, because he's such an expert?
Oh gosh. Well, at first it was tough figuring out which one to do.
Right.
And so because I give my partner Zach 100% of the credit on this. This was our thought process. Because eventually, and I recognize with the channel, eventually I can't tell, like my stories are going to run out.
Yeah.
There's but so many ways I can show what was in my wrestling bag or what was like doing this or that or whatever. So eventually we're going to have to about face and come up with just different forms of content. And one of our ideas is I I love just catching up with people, and I think I can like bring out people's funny side or serious side or whatever.
Yeah.
But Zach and I went there, and we didn't know what we were going to do. One of the things Matt prepped us on, he's like, "Listen, there's some things Taker just is he just wants to protect," and I'm like, "No problem, I get it. If we ever bring up anything that he is not comfortable with, just have him tell me, and we will not put it in, no problem." So knowing that I was going to do 2 hours of an interview style with him, and then knowing he was going to do, probably 4 hours between being on both Chris Van Vliet's, because he did Chris's channel and then Chris was on his channel.
Right.
So that's 6 hours of an interview style with Taker. At that point, Zach and I are like, what more? There's no other questions we can ask. To do another interview would be overkill.
Yeah.
So then, we sit down and we're like, well, what can we do with them? We knew people liked the mass transit video that you brought up. So your obvious mind goes to, well, do Hell in a Cell with him and Mick.
Yep.
Okay. Him and Mick sat down and watched that match and did that together. what am I bringing to
Yeah,
how am I outdoing that?
right.
I'm not. And out of respect, I'm not touching that. So Zach had the idea. He's like, well, the year before that, there was the Hell in the Cell with him and Sean. And and I watched that match years ago, but I had forgotten it. And Zach sent it to me. And to me, I said, this is it. Because not like the match with him and Nick was great and it's legendary, but it's legendary for different reasons. Whereas the match with him and Sean, it's legendary for all the right wrestling reasons.
Mhm.
Sean told an amazing story. Taker told an amazing story about trying to finally getting his hands on him. And the cell was, a character in itself, whereas I now got you. And I knew we had the right one, Jonah, when we sat down and Taker, like his eyes lit up and he said, man, I haven't seen this in years. He's like, and then he said, this is one of my favorite matches of all time. And
Nailed
at
it.
that moment, I
Yeah.
was like, we nailed it. Yep, we nailed it. And you know what? There wasn't one time, not once, that I brought something up or asked something or Zach inflected, hey, talk to this. That he was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with talking that. Not one. And to me, that was just, you
Yeah.
know, and to tell me as a wrestling fan, Taker goes in more depth than you thought he would, doesn't he?
Absolutely. There's one moment where you ask what story you're trying to tell just by attacking the cameraman, and that like immediately gripped me because I was like, whoa, like I didn't even you think about obviously they want to get the door open and there has to be a way to do
Yep.
it, but him taking you through the thought process
Yep.
of attacking the camera and getting him down, and then even when he was like, hold on a second, he's selling good, he's not selling like a worker, but then he was like, hold on, maybe he's not selling enough there because he was just
Yeah,
completely dead.
he
Like
did.
it's so cool to see inside that
Yeah.
mind. I mean, 30 plus
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. And I love the fact that he's been in so many legendary matches that this match just slipped his mind.
Yeah,
And seriously, watching his eyes light up with, watching what he did 30 years ago,
right.
I just inside, I was just like, yes, we picked the right one.
No, you
And
definitely did. As a wrestling fan, I could say that was very cool to watch him go over one. And I didn't even realize that was the first Hell in a Cell match.
yeah,
Like I
I didn't
totally
either.
like
Zach,
you definitely go to Mick Foley and Undertaker, I think, when you like revisionist history, all that, like you just think back.
yeah, and
But
I didn't either. But when Zach was trying to sell it to me, he's like, listen, this is the first Hell in a Cell, so we got that. This match, Taker told us that Mick Mick went to him and wanted to outdo this match. So we get the Taker Mick match because of Hell in a Cell 1 with Sean. And it's just like all the pieces of a puzzle going together.
connecting. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And then having him explain what we were thinking. And he even stopped me at that one point and was like, yeah, you see there, it takes a trained eye, but Sean's calling a spot.
Yep.
Inside, I'm just like, I can't believe he's saying this. Like, I can't believe it. But he's just like Matt Lyda. I got to know him, Taker's partner,
Yeah.
and I tell him, and I even text him this yesterday because we got a comment on our channel where people were just thanking us. They were like, I like this is a Taker I never thought I would get. And that's a lot of that credit goes to Matt. Matt's the one who had the vision because Matt said he would go on hunting trips with him or
Mhm.
do charity events with him for the vets, and Taker would tell these stories. And yeah, Taker's great, but Mark Calloway,
Ooh,
he's so damn entertaining.
he is.
That night when we went out to dinner, once the restaurant was empty, he starts telling us a story, and a story I didn't even know about. You should have seen. There were like 12 and Midian's there, Godfather's
Mhm.
there, me, Chris Van Vliet, and all these chairs. It's literally like when you were in kindergarten and your teacher was about to hold up a book and read the story and
Yeah.
all the
Story
and
time.
everybody wanted to get close. It was like that. But then Taker's so captivating Like he's such a good storyteller. It would be a sin if now that I know what he can do, it'd be a sin if he wasn't doing it because he's just so good. He's so good.
It's such a different side of him from growing up. He was the first thing that I saw when flipping through the channels and like discovering wrestling was Undertaker. He gripped me
Yeah.
into wrestling, and seeing this different side of him years later is really cool. When you did go on 6 Feet Under, one thing I learned, or I guess got confirmation of, was that the drop kick was definitely his idea. Can you just
Knew, never knew that.
never knew that? Can you
I
take it
never knew
back?
that.
Take us back to your mind back then of what you originally thought then when you got told the drop kick was happening.
Well, naturally, I thought it was Shane. And because when I arrived at the arena, like I said, I think I got there around 3 o'clock, and they immediately told me go straight to the ring. And when I walked to the ring, I immediately saw Shane and Taker.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately seeing those guys, I thought, this is, I don't know what I'm in for.
Yeah.
But Shane's the one that told me what was going to happen that night. So, of course, my mind just always thought, well, it must have been Shane's idea. But all these years, and I found out when you found out it was his idea, and I had no clue of that. No clue. And it's just it's so cool because in wrestling, you have to do business.
Yeah.
We're in a predetermined entertainment, you know, type of sport where the only way to be successful yourself is to build new stars. Taker knew this, and he didn't have to do what he did for me, but it wasn't going to hurt him.
No.
It wasn't going to hurt him, and it completely gave me a career. So to hear from his mouth that it was his idea, just again, another thing I didn't know, and just watching him tell the story, yeah, it'd be a sin if he wasn't doing this. If this version of Mark, if this version of Taker wasn't coming out, man, it's. I'm glad the world's got it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I could play a small, tiny role in helping him want to get it out.
No, absolutely. I
Like
agree.
I take as much pride in that, in the fact that our channel gave him the moxie, the idea for, yeah, I could do this too. Like I take a lot of pride in that.
No, as you should. And it's so cool that years later you did get to pay him back in your own way. Like from him giving you that career. Like
Mm,
it's really serendipitous. Yeah.
I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, you're welcome, Taker.
Yeah, give him that. I mean, and after the beatdown he gives you after the drop kick, I mean, I think you deserve it a little bit for sure. Like,
Man, for the career he gave me, I can mow his lawn
yeah,
for the
all
next
15
10 years.
acres.
And yeah, all 15 acres, and I still wouldn't pay him back for what he gave me.
That beatdown, what sticks with me most is the chair shot, of course, but the popcorn machine, for some reason, when I first watched that moment, is what stuck with me as a kid. What, well, first, was that area where you guys fought to like a predetermined area? Because there are so many
Yeah,
fans there. So
yeah.
many fans just pouring stuff on you guys. And then, of course, the popcorn machine, like I said, can you take us through the brawl afterwards?
Yeah, so earlier in that day when we were going over everything, we knew exactly after the chair shot. I knew where he was going to throw me out. I knew what aisle of steps he was going to take me up. They took me up to where the popcorn machine was going to be. I actually had one of the stunt coordinators show me what candy glass was. I don't know if you caught on my channel where I chew the candy glass.
No, I
Well,
didn't see that.
yeah, the guy who showed me, and told me this stuff's perfectly safe. To prove it to me, he chewed it, and so I knew exactly where we were going to go. And then at that point, it was just following his lead, and
Yeah.
it was pretty damn easy because once I hit the drop kick, I knew my night was. I just had to sell at that point.
Yeah.
My night was done, and the chair shot. Once the chair shot was over,
That
and
was
I'm like, ugh.
then just going up then easy. That's so cool
Yeah.
to look back through your eyes on that. And to transition, I heard Matt Lyda, while you were doing the 6 Feet Under, say that I think it was a comment he read, but you're telling people stories that they never knew they wanted to hear. And I could
Yeah.
definitely attest to that. Like these stories you're telling are so cool and unique. Is there a favorite story other than the dropkick that you got to go really in depth on and tell on your channel so far?
It's weird. So my partner Zach, when he contacted me, I immediately pushed back. I'm like, man, I'm not a big enough name.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear from me. What the hell do they want to know what I like? I'm not the guy they want to hear from. And he pushed back. And for one thing, if this kid would have reached out to Taker, he would have got no reply. If he
Yeah.
would reach out to a lot of guys, they probably would have ignored him. So he needed somebody of my level who could be like, you know what, why not?
Right.
And he also knew just from watching me on HSN or whatever, he knew I had the ability to, I don't know what the best way to put this. There's a difference in carrying on a conversation like you and I are doing between question, answer, as opposed to solo by yourself,
Yes.
talking to a camera, but doing it in a way where it's conversational, where my whole goal is to make these people feel like they're in the room with me.
Mhm.
Or if I do a video in the car, make them feel like we're on a ride and we're just
Yes.
talking wrestling. And that's a skill. Not everybody can do that. And Zach knew that. He's like, I could ask bigger names, but they probably wouldn't be able to give the information the way you can give it. So once we got over that hurdle, then he starts telling me all the stuff that of his ideas. He's like, yeah, he's like, I think, we could, show what was in your wrestling bag. And I'm like, why the hell would people want to know that?
Right.
But they do. Or what secrets are about certain matches. They want to know all the stuff that, like, in my mind, like, I just don't think people would be interested in. But I'm looking at it from my eyes. I know the information,
Yeah.
and the way he asked me, he was like, all right, he's like, you ever watch documentaries? And I'm like, yeah, I love them. He's like, well, you're learning something. The people giving the information, they know it, but it interests you. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
That's such a good way to explain it.
Yeah,
That
that
is,
makes sense.
yeah. And I could
Yeah,
attest, you are very relaxing to listen to in your videos. Like, there's no, like, even when you're telling something like the mass transit incident, for example, like, it is still, like you said, relaxing. And it is a skill to take someone through that and have them still be gripped, but not like scream at them, right? Just talk in a
yeah.
normal, tone.
Well, and where most people make the mistake is they talk at people. Where I try
Mhm.
to talk to, I want people to feel like they're in the room with me
Yeah.
the whole time. And yeah, and again, no clue. I had no clue people would want to hear these stories. No idea. But the kid was right. He
Look,
was
I mean, look at that
100%
play button
accurate.
behind you, right? That proves
Yeah.
that's huge. Well, there's one moment early on in your career, still going back to Tough Enough now, where Triple H comes in to try to motivate the troops
Yeah.
of Tough Enough. And I'm sure you've been asked this before, but how authentic is that speech that Triple H gives in that?
Oh, I actually just talked about this an hour ago on a
Okay.
different pod. 100%. Everything he said, and at the time we didn't recognize it. I mean, of course, it's weird. This was in 2001, so obviously in 2001 this didn't exist,
Yeah.
and no one knew about clicks, and no one. Oh, you want to see? I got the best. I have the best quote that I look at every day. I don't know if you can see it.
Never let someone waste your time twice. That's good. That is really good. Just once.
Yeah, just once. So no one knew about clicks. No one knew that something was going to go viral, but he was still saying that for the TV audience. He still knew that would be something that Tough Enough and MTV WWE could sell because it's still a good speech that he gives. And we knew that. We recognized that. What it took me 20 plus years to learn was every word he said, every word was true. You're on the road. You don't know what your significant other's doing. They don't know what you're doing. You're in pain. Your back hurts. Guess what? Everybody's back hurts in that
Mhm.
locker room. Everybody's in pain. You're tired. Everybody's tired. No one cares. Every word he said was 100% true. And
Yeah.
it took years to learn that, obviously. And then he gave it in his trademark Triple H passionate way,
Yeah.
um, which, I mean, he gave it as the game.
Yeah.
But everything he said, 100% accurate.
Wow. And you ended up being in the ring with Triple H a few times in your career once
Huh.
you got to WWE, which is crazy, full circle there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, well, I'm curious what I'm sure you don't follow on a week to week basis the product, but being back in the wrestling sphere now, do you have any thoughts on WWE since Triple H has taken over?
I mean, you're right. I don't really follow it, and I've said it. It's hard. It's like watching your ex girlfriend, you know, move on to her
Yeah.
next guy. Somebody, if the love of my life broke up with me, and then asked me to dinner every week with her
Yeah,
new love,
every week.
no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I don't need to. I don't need to see you guys hold hands and make out. I'm good. And
That's totally
that's
true.
that. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just tough to watch.
Yeah.
That said, I'm a fan of the product. I'm a fan whenever I do catch myself watching. I'm a fan of guys. I love seeing Cody's rise. I
Yeah.
love seeing what Roman, the force he was able to become. But then
Right.
again, I also love watching guys on other net platforms. John Moxley has a passion for this business that most even wrestlers don't have. And then for my money, the best heel in the business is MJF.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that kid will have a run in WWE one day that I think will change wrestling.
Such realism behind what he says. It's crazy.
They're gonna have to get away from PG,
Yeah.
and because to water down what he does would be it just wouldn't do him justice.
It's this, right?
He's so good because he's able to be himself.
Yeah.
But he's amazing. I think he's the best heel in the business
Yeah.
because he's actually believable. You really think he is that big of a dick?
Yeah. He's not someone I'd go up to. And but like as a fan, I don't know if I'd approach him.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
And he's
go.
doing his job. Yeah.
He's doing his job.
It feels like they are getting a little bit away from PG. I don't know if you've seen clips or anything about like the Wyatt Six just debuted, which is
Yeah.
a tribute to Bray Wyatt,
Yeah.
of course. And but the debut was crazy. It was people down, bloodied. I don't know if you saw it.
You're the third person that's told me
Oh, really? So
that. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it made an impact.
It
Yeah.
did.
Is that just today? Third person today?
No, well, third
Oh,
person in the last couple days.
got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, a debut that you were a part of that I love to go to is Brock Lesnar. First time
Oh
we
yeah.
saw him on a WWE screen, I believe he was F5ing you and Spike Dudley.
Ooh, poor
Crazy.
Spike.
Yeah,
Poor
Spike. Oh
Spike.
my God. And Al Snow, I think, was there too. Al took the
Al was.
garbage can. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the F5 it hits on you is picture perfect. I'm sure you don't love it, but it's picture perfect.
Nah,
Can you
it was
tell us about that?
yeah, and I've had people, and it's funny you mentioned this because we actually have a video right now being edited,
Oh, no.
and the title of it is going to be my most, I think, viral moments or whatever, and that's one of the ones that's on it. Um, people's told me that the way I took that F5 was perfect. That's 100% Brock. It's the easiest bump to take. So easy. I mean, it's basically just a face bump. He does all the work.
Yeah.
Going over it during the day, I realized that Brock had a different level of strength
Hmm.
because we were going over it, during the day, and he would do it on the crash pad. And when he picked me up, and at the time, I probably weighed to maybe 225, 230. And he handled me the way if I picked up like a fifth grader, I could handle him.
God.
It was just a different level of strength that this man had. And as a grown man, there's not many people that could move me against my will, but he could.
He could.
Like he could, and it's just he's just next level strong. So the bump I took was 100% him, and it's a crazy, but it's an easy bump. It's just a face bump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
excited
would
for
take that
video.
every night. I would take that
Wow.
every night.
Most viral moments. So that's going to be exciting. What do you want to
Yeah.
give a sneak peek on what else is on one other moment?
Oh well, you've brought another one up, the Triple H.
Oh, there you go. The
Yeah,
double.
the Triple H. We've
Oh,
pretty
that's
much went over that whole damn video in this.
Oh man. Well, Brock, what is the conversation like other than going over that before Brock's debut? Is it an intense conversation with you guys like this guy's coming out, we want him to be something big, or is it
Yeah,
just yeah.
yeah. He's got to destroy everybody. He has to leave an impact. And
Yeah.
I was honored the fact that they felt comfortable enough with, with me, that because you only get to debut him once.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could, they were going to do that during my match showed that they knew I could handle, him taking that bump good. Like I said, I had it easy. Poor Spike. Oh my God. I still remember watching it, and thinking like, 'cause they originally they had the plan, like they wanted to do, I think they might have even wanted to do a couple more power bombs, but Spike was obviously, Brock probably would still be power bombing
To
if
this
it was
day.
if it
Yeah.
was up to him. But I think it was up to Spike, and I think 3 was perfect. Like I think, 2 would have been like, okay, it's just one more than, and 4 would have been overkill.
Yeah.
3 was perfect,
Three was perfect.
and like if you watch that back, like he drives him into the mat, like he drives him. Yeah.
That is no, it's intense. That debut is very intense. It's no secret too. You were pushed pretty quickly to the top early on in your career, which I can't imagine what
Yeah.
the pressure was like. But someone you got in there with was Chris Jericho, and I'm
Yeah.
curious what that was like so early in your career, being in there with at the time somebody already established, undisputed
Yeah.
champion too. I think. What was
Yeah.
it?
He was. That
Yeah.
was back when they linked both the belts,
Mm-hmm.
and just happy that it was somebody like Jericho, because at the time I had no clue what I was doing. I
Yeah.
could follow and I could listen, but I wasn't ready to be wrestling a championship match by any stretch of the imagination. So everything that you see in that match is Chris,
Yeah.
and Chris making it look believable. When Taker and I were talking, we were talking about what made him and Sean so good is just the believability.
Mm-hmm.
You take Sean's not a big man,
No.
and Taker is a big man. So how do you make those two look believable? How do you make it look like Sean could be in a fight with him? That's a tough ask.
Yeah.
And they did it. And the same with the match I did with Chris. We had to make it look believable in some way, and that's all Chris. And then him putting the walls on, like, oh, it hurt so bad. Like it was some of the worst pain I've been in my life. It hurt that bad.
That's interesting to hear. So the Walls of Jericho,
Yeah.
I feel like that is the move that a lot of wrestling fans as kids will do the most, like a Boston Crab or something to
Oh
their
yeah.
end. Yeah,
Yeah. But there's a way to do it where you could sit and stop, and you feel it, but it's more like a stretch.
right.
Chris took it there and then took it a little bit further, and then even sat back further. Just like I was the green, I was the rookie, and I know he did it because a few years later I worked him, and it was the same finish, Walls,
Yeah,
and I didn't say anything to him leading up to it because I didn't want him to put it in just to prove me wrong.
right.
But after the match, I went up to him and I was like, I knew you put that first one on tight. And he laughed at me like, yeah, I did. But that's hey man, that's wrestling. If you
Right.
if you can't if you can't deal with that, wrong line of work for you.
Yeah.
Sell insurance, do something else.
Do you have any thoughts on what Chris is doing now in AEW? Like the constant reinventing of himself and still sticking
Just that,
around on top?
yeah, he's just anybody that wants a master class on how to reinvent themselves. Maybe he's been doing it since the '90s. Think about that.
Yeah.
He's been doing this since the '90s. It's just amazing that he can keep himself relevant for 30 years in the
Right?
business.
Yeah.
It's hard to do anything in life for 30 years besides breathe. Like it's tough. It is,
Yeah.
it's not easy. And the fact that still be at the top of his game, because there's guys that go out and wrestle at that age, but they're not good.
Right.
You remember, the end of Hogan's wrestling career. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
He wasn't like he didn't look like he was moving well, but
No,
he was still out there. Chris can still go.
he can.
It's just insane.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
if I went out and wrestled right now, it would look like shit.
I was
Like
gonna say, does that ever cross your mind to get in?
no,
No.
no,
Not at-
not a bit.
to go to something else in your video, 5 consequences of being a WWE wrestler, which I think people should also go check out. You talk about a specific match with Chris Nowinski and how it changed your
Yeah,
outlook on your entire career moving forward. Can you take us back to that night and what that match did for you?
yeah. So what it was because we always had our loops would always begin on Friday,
Okay.
which meant Thursday I was preparing to leave early Friday morning, which means you don't have a weekend. And on this particular occasion, it was right before Christmas, and we didn't have they didn't have any house shows planned. The next time we were going to be on was the following Monday.
Okay.
So they were going to fly us out that Sunday. To be a wrestler and to have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at home is unheard of. Like it just does not happen when you're on the main roster, unless you're injured.
Yeah.
So I was so excited I had all these plans on stuff I was going to do, stuff I had to do around my house, because I lived alone at the time, and just my house got neglected. And I remember that night, Chris and we had 6 minutes. It was nothing. Like it was just a regular, easy match. And I remember just going through the motions. And Vince met me at Gorilla because in my mind I was already on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince met me at Gorilla, and this was a nothing match. This wasn't going to be a match that any of the dirt sheet writers wrote about. Wasn't going to have any consequence to Raw that night. It was nothing. And I went into it with that mindset. And I really quickly found out that Vince sees no match as a nothing match.
Mm-hmm.
And he met me as soon as I went through the curtain at Gorilla. And he laid into me and pretty much told me if that was the kind of performance that I was going to put out night to night, I should look for a different job. And it stuck with me. Ruined my vacation. Ruined.
Christmas ruined.
Like,
Yeah.
ruined. Like the whole time I was at home, I was worried about if I was going to get the call. Yeah. Stay home. You enjoying Christmas? Well, enjoy New Year's too. You're fired. And ruined it. But I never went into a match with that mindset again. I made sure I went the extra mile in selling. I made sure I did just everything. Even if it was a 4-minute match, I put everything into it. Everything from that one chewing out from Vince.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's crazy. And look what it did for you, though. Like after that, the moments that you had. One moment I want to go to, I'm not sure if this was, tell me timeline if you remember where this was, but you ended up beating Undertaker with the help from The Rock.
The Rock, yeah. No, that was
And
early.
oh, that was earlier on. What I think
Yeah.
is crazy about that is that before you became a wrestler, you were a school teacher with a
Right.
picture of The Rock on
Oh,
your
yeah.
board. And fast forward, and you're getting his help to beat the Undertaker. I mean, that must be so crazy to think about for you.
It's like literally, I had a bulletin board of him, and it was The Rock says, and my students would bring me Rock action figures, Rock pictures. Because they always wanted to add to the bulletin board.
Yeah.
And I think within 2 years from having that bulletin board, then within a 2-year span, I was then having him come out and helped me beat the Undertaker for the hardcore title. It just goes to show just how just full circle life goes. It's insane. It's absolutely nuts
It
to
is.
think about it.
You've
Yeah.
had a crazy career. You really have. It's so cool that you're able to tell it now alongside Zach. Are there any videos while we wind it down in the pipeline other than the viral moment one that you're excited to get out there?
Next week we have, and we're kind of, I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens that happened with, but next week we have, hold on, I'll even give you
Oh,
a
let's
little,
see the official thing. Yeah.
yeah, let me give you a little bit of a head start at it. Where is it? This is great television, me going through my phone.
You
No,
never know what the people want.
Zach sends me, like, we have a good routine. Like, he'll send me the videos ahead of time
Yeah.
because there's been times that, something doesn't link up, or because it's just us two. It's just me and him, and his brother helps with the editing,
Okay.
but it's not like we have a big production. No,
I think
we're
that might be one of the most shocking things people take from this interview is
yeah.
that it is only you, Zach, and his brother. I mean, three people creating this.
Well, and his brother's not a wrestling fan. Think
That's
about that.
it.
Yeah.
He's
His
a
brother's just
Maven
good.
fan. He's definitely a
His bro
Maven fan now.
Wow, now he is. His brother's just good at editing.
Okay.
But he edits our videos really good. But it's not like we have a big production team behind us or anything. It's just
Right.
us. But all right, so my next week's video is titled "Why I Stopped Talking to Randy Orton."
Okay.
So
Wow. So do you two still not talk? I guess we'll find out in the video. I love the formats that you do.
yeah,
Like walking around out, it changes the game. Seriously. Like you said, it's like we're out for a walk or something.
again, I just want to, yeah, and then we get in the car, and then we had some place to go that was about an hour drive, and we're like, why not get a video film during it?
Yeah.
People think, and it's funny because especially when we were doing the rating of a wrestlers, people thought I had notes. No, I like this is it's yeah, like, and there's times, trust me, there's times that come up where Zach will like say something, like he'll be like, "Oh, I'll talk to this," and I won't know it,
Wow.
or it's not my story to tell, and I
Yeah.
have no problem with telling them, "Yeah, I can't speak to that," or I don't remember, I don't know, or I wasn't there, and
Right.
we just move on. We do something different. What's the craziest thing? We did a video, and I forget what it was. It was one of the videos that's over a million views right now. We sat down that day and we had a completely different video in mind, and we were trying to film it, and every time he would be like, let's talk to this, I would have to look something up, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't flowing. I
Not on
didn't have,
right.
like, I didn't remember enough of what we were trying to get done to where I was trying to look up two different facts, and it kept taking us to this Men's Health article. And finally, Zach looked at me. He's like, "This Men's Health was like 30 facts of the WWE," and he's like, "You want to just react to the Men's Health?" And I'm like, "Sure." We on the fly switched right then, no prep, and that's one of our videos that has over a million views
Wow.
from a video that wasn't working, that we scrapped on the fly. I don't have notes. I don't have anything. We go. We just, yeah.
And it is filling in a gap I feel that's missing for the wrestling world. Like you see actors do it all the time. Especially the board when you're pulling off the
Yeah.
pieces of
Oh, yeah.
tape. The most asked questions. I mean, it's
Yep.
genius. It's really cool stuff. It's so
And the great part about that is I had no clue what questions were coming up.
yeah.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing. Like, I don't prep. I'm better. I'm way better off the cuff. I'm way better with not knowing what's coming. And Zach's great at knowing that that Google board was just going to look good,
Yeah. It
or
did
knowing
too. The
that,
props are a big thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the tier list, like that's another video that's done really well. And it's just like that's where he's just invaluable with knowing. And I tell people all the time, I think where a lot of wrestlers make the mistake, they want to they want to have a wrestling show or they want to do a wrestling video. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm making a YouTube video that deals with wrestling. That's the difference with what we do. We're making YouTube videos. That's our goal anyway.
Yeah.
Because the half my followers are people that aren't fans. They tell me, I have no clue who you are. I don't watch wrestling, but I love what you do. Or and it's the best compliment I can get.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny too. I have people tell me, I hated you in the ring. You were bland. But I love you now. And it's like the biggest compliment ever.
You
And
changed them. You completely changed. But and I think you're also bringing people in. Like you're making it wrestling content so much more malleable to
yeah,
outside people.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. That's a good. I'm gonna steal that word. That's a good
Feel
word.
it. Take that. It's all
Yeah.
yours. But I mean,
Well,
yeah.
life is all about growth. Life is all about just growing as a person in our skills, learning new things. And the fact that at almost 50 years old, the fact that I'm able to grow, and I'm not the same guy I was in my 20s. I obviously can't go out and perform in the ring like I did, but I can grow enough as a human to
Yeah.
do something else, to still have something that adds value to a business, to a sport that I love. And it's funny because like I didn't realize how much wrestling I knew, like how much knowledge had stuck
Right.
in there until we started making these videos. Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
it's deep, and I hope it doesn't run out. But like you said, I mean, you can only tell them for so long. So these new concepts, when you're forced
Yeah.
to think outside the box and think of these new concepts, it's almost even better.
And we're also talking about just extending. I love answering questions. I love it. Like I love it. And I love doing it live.
Mm,
I love the idea of fans, you know, giving me their questions and me doing it on the spot,
yeah,
because then they'll know there's no prep. I don't know if it's possible to do it over a video form, like having people lined up, but we're talking about doing a separate part of the channel to where it would like be a like a cheap membership
hmm,
where we can provide more. And one of the things we want to do is, if we do that, and not all 400,000 subscribers are going to
right,
want to get on that. I get it, but 20,000 might.
exactly,
And what we would do is we put our videos out every Friday. Then maybe on Saturday, maybe I go on for an hour. We start the hour off with explaining what our thought was behind the video, maybe showing some behind the scenes footage of it, of getting it made, maybe talking about pitfalls we had with the video, what
yeah,
we were trying to achieve, and letting the fans decide if we achieved that. And then doing that for 10 minutes. And then for 50 minutes, having fans come on and ask me questions. Like, and I think that's some place we could take the channel to.
yeah. And when you think about it, I mean, that makes so much sense. They're already watching for the behind the scenes of something. Why
Yep.
wouldn't they love the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes? That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a couple videos that we can't make because they just won't do well. Like
yeah,
I want to do a like my audition tapes are tough enough. It's so god awful. It's so cringy. It's the shits. But like we want to do a video where I react to that tape. Now, that's not a video that's going to do well for the whole world.
right,
But as an extra on the membership side, there are people that would like to see it.
yeah.
So, there's videos like that we want to make.
Yeah,
And,
opens up so many more avenues. Yeah,
it does. It does.
and seriously, congratulations again to you and Zach and
Oh, thank
whole
you.
thing. It's huge, and you've been so gracious with your time today. So thank you so much. This was awesome. I loved it.
Brother, my pleasure, man. Listen, whenever Renee tells me that somebody's legit, then I don't even question it. Like I trust him implicitly, and he was right. And if I can ever help you in any other way, let me know, man.
Thank
Let
you.
me know.
Rewind, recap, relive. For over 50 episodes, the revolutionary force in wrestling interviews.